Okay guys, welcome back. This is part 2. This time we'll be discussing the character changes of Street Fighter V. And I want to make a quick reminder guys that these are all the changes from the E3 build all the way up to Phase 2. And I'm not going to list every single little change, just the important ones that I feel stood out. So let's start with Ryu, which I'm going to start off by asking you guys want the good news or the bad news first? The bad news? Okay, let's start with the bad news. Ryu can no longer link a crouching hard kick after a standing medium punch. So Capcom basically took out Ryu's way of comboing into a close knockdown, and then I guess going for another cross up, and then repeating the process. But this kind of leaves Ryu in an awkward situation where he has limited options after he combos into a standing medium punch. So if you go standing medium punch into standing medium punch and the opponent's in a crouching state, you don't have really too many things that you can combo into. You can't use Hurricane Kick because it'll just sail right over their head. You pretty much have to spend an EX bar to combo into an EX Tatsu, or just do a regular fireball, which is kind of awkward. Next up, Ryu can no longer link a crouching hard punch after his forward hard punch command normal. So I guess Ryu's next best option is to link into a standing medium punch and go from there. Next change, Ryu can no longer link his forward hard punch command normal after his hard kick crush counter. Now I did feel that Ryu got a little too much damage off his crush counter from the Phase 1 beta when you can link into this, but now it's kind of redundant because Ryu lost the ability to link into a crouching hard punch from the same command normal, so he lost damage anyways. I guess it's also worth noting that if you do this crush counter really meaty with his standing hard kick, you can still link into his forward hard punch. Ryu's medium kick version of his Tatsu no longer hits crouching opponents. I thought this was a really cool addition to Ryu in Street Fighter V because it gave Ryu options to combo when the opponent is hit in a crouching state. So I'm not really sure why Capcom took this out, so this means that every single version of Ryu's Tatsu no longer hits crouching opponents. Another thing too is that when Ryu had the ability to hit crouching opponents with his medium Tatsu, it gave all three strengths some type of use. The light kick version was to link into his super, or to maintain spacing because you'd be in front of your opponent. The hard kick version was used for straight up damage, and you would lose some spacing because you'd be behind your opponent or put yourself in the corner, and the medium kick version was used to hit crouching opponents. Ryu could no longer juggle an EX Dragon Punch after a light Tatsu. I'm not really sure why Capcom took this out considering there's a lot of circumstances to this. First off, the opponent needs to be in the corner. Second off, you need to use 1 bar of EX meter. And third, the opponent has to be in a standing state when you comboed him in the first place. Okay, so next up, Ryu can no longer juggle an EX Fireball after an EX Tatsu. So basically they're just removing more corner combos from Ryu. This one's kind of strange because honestly it's not worth the meter for the damage you get. If you have 3 meters and you go EX Tatsu, EX Fireball, and EX Dragon Punch, it actually does less damage than just doing Super outright. I guess maybe they're considering the amount of stun that these combos do, but I'm not really sure. Ryu's Super no longer causes a hard knockdown. So when the Phase 1 beta hit, a lot of people took advantage of the fact that Ryu causes a hard knockdown in his super, and then they activate V-Trigger, and then they figured out all these unblockable setups by doing fully charged engines. But the problem was the training dummy wasn't exactly the best. We couldn't really figure out what if he does a V reversal, or an invincible reversal, for that matter. So either Capcom's just playing it safe, or they don't like the idea of these unblockable setups. Ryu's V skill now only builds 1/12 of 1 bar of V gauge. This is one of the biggest nerfs I feel that Ryu has received. He used to be able to build 1/3 of 1 bar, now it's 1/12. One of the main reasons why I don't like this change is that I feel that the purpose of a V skill is to give you an option of building your V gauge without blocking with your face. And for Ryu to have to parry your opponent's attack 24 times to activate his V trigger is just a bit too much. Okay, next change. After Ryu activates V-Trigger, he'll lose 10% of his timer every time he throws a fireball. I'm kinda iffy on this one too. Since Ryu only has 2 bars of V-Gauge, his timer isn't that long in the first place. Now Ryu's fireballs do become really strong, they cause a knockdown, they do a lot more stun, and he can charge it, but you can really only throw about 5 fireballs I'd say until your timer is gone now, whereas before it didn't drain your bar at all. I feel like you don't have enough time to regain control of the match because your opponent could just block it out. If I decide to throw a bunch of fireballs, my timer will be completely drained. If I decide to charge them, it takes too long to normally charge them, my opponent will just simply jump out of it. So I'm basically forced to use the EX version if I really want to crack my opponent's defense. The fact that Ryu can barely build V-gauge from his parry in the first place doesn't help either. Honestly, if I was going to change Ryu's V-trigger, I'd just keep it the same as phase 1. Don't have the fireballs drain the timer, but give Ryu the option of dash cancelling his charged fireballs, but he loses half of his timer every time he does it. Okay, next change. A fully charged fireball now does 300 stun instead of 700. Honestly, if you got hit by a fully charged fireball, it takes so long to charge this thing normally that I feel like you deserve to get stunned, man, if you get hit by this. Fully charging an EX fireball is really fast, so I guess it's fair if that does 300 stun, but a normal fully charged fireball, I don't think there's any problem giving it 700 stun. Alright guys, some bonus changes to Ryu. This is the lower build of the game, so this is a newer version. In this version, Ryu can no longer jump back into a Tatsu or do a neutral jump Tatsu, so he only could do a hurricane kick in the air when he's jumping forward. In the phase 1 beta of the game, Ryu wasn't able to build meter at all when he was jumping back and doing Tatsu, but it looks like Capcom just scrapped it altogether. Next change, Ryu now does a flat 60 damage on all 3 strengths of his Dragon Punch when used as an anti-air and it doesn't hit deep. I strongly feel that in any fighting game an anti-air should do a lot of damage. I'm not really sure why the player who is doing the anti-air should be punished for mistiming it when the opponent jumped in the first place, especially when Street Fighter V is all about the neutral game. Next change, Ryu can no longer cancel out of his crouching light kick. So this means you can't go crouching light kick into uppercut, for example. I think just Capcom's just running out of things to nerf on Ryu, so this is the best they could find. Next up, Ryu lost a lot of frame advantage on his back hard kick command normal. He pretty much can't link into anything he could before or afterwards. He was able to link into a standing hard punch, a crouching medium punch, a standing medium punch, or even a crouching hard kick, but now you're limited to basically, I think, just a standing light kick? So maybe Capcom just wanted to limit the amount of things you can V-trigger cancel into after a back hard kick, so you either have to go straight into uppercut, or I guess just a standing light kick. Ryu can no longer juggle an EX uppercut after an EX Tatsu. Not really sure about this change because Ryu already can't juggle into his EX fireball, and then this is corner only and it requires 2 meter. Keep in mind though that Ryu can do an air version of the EX Tatsu juggle into EX uppercut still in the corner. Alright guys, that's it for the bad news, I promise. Well, there is some stuff I'm leaving out, but anyways, let's get to the good news. So Ryu now has improved movement speed. Okay, moving on to Bison Changes now. Bison will now teleport when he does his regular dash without V-trigger. So this teleport dash can still go through fireballs. The only difference between this dash and when Bison activates V-trigger is that he can cross over the opponent with it. The only thing I don't like about this change is that Bison kind of lost some uniqueness with his V-trigger now, because it really used to change the pacing of the match because Bison was so much more mobile. But now he's always mobile with his dashes. Next up, the input for Bison's super has been changed to quarter circle forward twice into punch. This doesn't seem to affect anything unless they change the motion for any of Bison's special moves in the future. In case you forgot, the motion used to be quarter circle forward twice into kick. Bison can no longer link a crouching medium punch after a crouching medium kick. Bison's crouching medium kick is actually pretty good, but I heard in the future they're going to make this special cancelable. Bison has less priority on his crouching hard punch. I'm not sure exactly what they changed with this. I don't know if it's the speed of the startup or maybe the placement of the hitbox, but it seems to trade a lot more often. Bison's standing hard kick is now a crush counter. The fact that Bison's standing hard kick is +3 on block can be used as an anti-air, and when you land a crush counter with it, it puts him in a crumpled state. I strongly feel this is one of the best crush counters in the game. Bison's crouching hard kick is no longer a crush counter. Bison's crouching hard kick was really clunky as a crush counter. It didn't really make sense to frame trap someone and then have the risk of being -1,000,000 if you do it right in front of them, and it also knocked them up in this weird juggled state, so I can definitely relate to this change. Bison's down forward hard punch command normal has been changed to do only 1 hit now, and it also causes a crush counter. It seems like Capcom just wanted Bison to have 2 crush counters, so they were forced to make this move 1 hit so that would make sense. Another thing too is that this move still does not hit overhead even though it looks like it's an overhead. Bison's EX head stomp now causes a hard knockdown. Bison's one of the few characters in the game that can cause hard knockdowns, and it's also worth knowing that his EX knee press still also does a hard knockdown. All three strengths of Bison's knee press is now much more minus on block. So the light version of Bison's knee press is -4, and the medium and hard kick version is -5. So Capcom basically wanted players to not mindlessly do knee press over and over again because Bison created a lot of pressure with that in the Phase 1 version of the game. But it still doesn't really hurt it too bad, you just gotta be better with your spacing, so don't do it point blank, maybe hit the opponent with a few normals and then space it out so you can hit with the edge of it and do it meaty. Also keep in mind that the EX version of Bison's knee press is actually +1 on block. A successful V skill no longer builds EX meter. So Bison used to build super meter when he used his V skill, which was kind of weird, so they just streamlined it to make it the same with the rest of the cast. Another thing that they changed that's kind of weird too is that when Bison throws back the projectile, he actually doesn't gain V gauge with it until it actually hits the opponent or makes contact with them. Before, as soon as the projectile came out, he would immediately gain bonus V gauge. Bison's Inferno special has been reworked. So there's a bunch of things they changed with this. First, the flame pillar doesn't go as high, so they actually changed the hitbox. The biggest thing they changed is that it's much more minus on block, -10. So this is a massive nerf, -10 on all three strengths. I'm not really too sure what the point of this special move is now. I feel like Bison's special moves are kind of clunky to begin with in this game, but this used to cause a lot of block pressure, a lot of block damage, but now it's just super unsafe and it looks like it's just for combo filler. Keep in mind that the EX version actually starts up faster and it's -1 on block, so it's actually a pretty decent reversal now. Bison can now V-trigger cancel out of all versions of his Cycle Inferno and his Cycle Blast. So if you V-trigger cancel out of the startup of your Cycle Inferno, this will give you a ton of frame advantage, allow you to try to open up your opponent while he's stuck in block stun, and the Cycle Blast just gives Bison more options to combo into his V-trigger. Keep in mind you can also V-trigger cancel off the EX versions as well. It's too bad Bison can't V-trigger cancel his EX Cycle Blast on whiff, because in that way you can go for a cross-up with your teleport and make a mix-up. Bison can now V-trigger cancel off the second hit of his knee press. I personally like this change. This gives Bison a lot more options to convert into his V-trigger. You can't get much off a light knee press, but off the harder versions you definitely can. You can go straight into a crouching medium punch and then convert from there. Of course, doing a knee press and then activating V-trigger when the opponent blocks will make the knee press much more safer, so you'll be able to fish with this a little bit more too as well. Bison's knee press can now be super cancelled off the second hit. So this makes it a little more reliable for Bison to combo into his super off a knee press, because before you can only cancel it off the first hit. Bison will be a little bit more closer to the opponent and it's a little damage buff as well. Bison's V-trigger timer now depletes faster, but his special moves deplete the timer less. Bison has a pretty big timer in the first place since he has 3 bars of V gauge, so you won't really notice too much of a difference with this. I feel like you'll still end the match with V-trigger active. I think before his special moves used to drain about 10% of his timer, but now it drains 5%. Alright, so let's talk about ChunLi now. The first change is her V skill now builds V gauge on whiff. I criticized ChunLi's V skill a bunch of times in the past, so this is a welcome change, but I did hear in the newer versions they took this out again. This isn't a change, but I think it's worth noting that ChunLi can still do her instant air lightning legs. ChunLi can now hit crouching opponents with her standing light punch. So this makes it so ChunLi can more reliably chain into her standing light punch into lightning legs, for example, and not have to worry about the opponent being in a crouching state. ChunLi's back hard punch command normal is now a crush counter. This doesn't put the opponent into a crouching state, but her back hard punch is pretty fast, man. It's 7 frame startup, and I think it's +2 on block, so this is one of the better crush counters in the game. The second hit of ChunLi's jumping hard punch now no longer hits overhead. This kinda sucks because now you can no longer just time it so you only do 1 hit and then go straight for a low attack when you hit the ground. The opponent would just have to block low for both situations. ChunLi's normal and EX version of her lightning legs now snag when juggled into. So this is a good change. Now when ChunLi juggles someone with her lightning legs, once the first hit hits, the opponent will be trapped into it and then all the hits will connect. And this works well with her new crush counter as well since it puts them into a juggled state. ChunLi's back hard kick command normal now has lower priority. So this is still a really good anti-air, you just have to time it better so they hit the tip of her leg. The hitbox has definitely been moved. Also, it doesn't launch the opponent as high, so it's a little harder to dash under your opponent after this hit connects. but it's still possible. Some of Chun-Li's V-trigger specific combos no longer work. So like most characters, Chun-Li's frame data has been reworked, and as a result, some of her combos no longer work. So for example, after Chun-Li's overhead, she can no longer link into standing medium punch, and after her forward hard kick, she also can't link into her standing medium punch, so she loses some damage off of that. But it's not really a big deal. Chun-Li can still convert some good combos off of her overhead and her command normals anyways in V-trigger. Chun-Li's back hard kick during V-trigger now allows her to fully juggle afterwards. This is a great change because before you had to really time it so that the opponent only hit the tip of her back hard kick and it was only one hit, and then you could fully juggle afterwards. But now it doesn't matter. As long as you land it, you can go standing hard punch into super, for example, or just straight into super, or you can even go for a sweep. So her anti-air is very strong during V-trigger. You can no longer special or super cancel off the second hit of Chun-Li's crouching hard punch. So before in phase 1, for some reason, off the second hit of Chun-Li's crouching hard punch, you're able to do an EX cancel, but not just a normal special move. And also you could do a super. This was really weird and kind of drove me a little crazy because I was looking at other characters trying to see if they had something like that too, because that was a really weird mechanic. It wasn't in Street Fighter 4 at all. Chun-Li was getting stupid damage and a really easy hit confirm off of this in the phase 1 beta, so I'm not surprised that Capcom took this out. Chun-Li can no longer link lightning legs after a forward or back medium punch command normal. I don't think Capcom intended to take this out. I think this was just a result of all the frame data changes to Chun-Li. I am pretty sad that it's gone though. Chun-Li can fully juggle into lightning legs after doing 2 stomp kicks. Now someone correct me if I'm wrong about this, but I'm pretty sure she couldn't do this. I know after 3 stomp kicks she was able to do like 1 hit of her lightning legs on one of the versions of it, but I'm pretty sure this is new. This isn't a change, but it's worth noting that Chun-Li can still link into her standing medium punch after a crouching light punch, even in the latest version that I've seen in the Dawson build of Street Fighter 5. So she is one of the characters that is unaffected by this. Okay guys, that wraps it up for part 2 of gameplay changes for Street Fighter 5. Let me know how you guys feel about these changes. Do you agree with them or do you disagree with them? I know a lot of you guys will be talking about Ryu anyways, but we'll cover the last 3 characters in part 3 of this video. Till then guys, thanks for watching.